Good evening, mortals of the light. I know I'm supposed to be in the middle of contract signing right now, but Susan said they'd allow me time off to make an Eerie Endorsement since I deserve a break or something like that. So I'm borrowing some of her equipment to make a video down here. As I was saying, welcome to another edition of Derios Eerie Endorsements, a series where I talk about games that are perfect playing around Halloween time. The game we're looking at in this video is Aestetic for PC, and I should specify I'm not looking at the classic version that's for your new grounds, nor am I looking at the dress up game that stars that busty witch. I'm looking at the version that's available on Steam and itch.io, I think. This is an indie game developed by Milk Bar Lads, published by Two Left Thumbs, and was released around a year ago. Happy birthday? I was introduced to the title by a YouTuber sponsoring before release, funnily enough. It looked right up my alley, so I wishlisted it and eventually bought it. And now here I am talking about it in a review. I forgot which video I saw it from, but it's interesting how things worked out like that. So how does Aestetic play? Well, it's a top-down shooter roguelike with a horror aesthetic. You move with WASD, jump with the spacebar, aim and shoot with your mouse, switch your secondary weapon with the scroll wheel or shift if you find one, and you can also destroy it for money if you hold middle click or shift. Your goal is to get around the 4 main floors, collecting as much cash and items as you can muster, then face off against a monster by the name of Chunks at the end. Though, if you really want to, when you reach the balcony, the midpoint between the last floor and the final area, you also have the option to return to the first floor to potentially collect more items and cash. Each floor has their own boss to fight too, so in order to proceed to the next floor, you have to find the boss key, use it on the door to open the boss room, and defeat them to move on. Along your way through the manor, you may come across rooms that are a little more helpful than harmful. You might find a room with a chest containing money, a secondary weapon or an item, a challenge room where you can earn an item or two if you defeat all its enemies within the time limit, rooms with these large crystals which when destroyed bring you back to the starting room or the floor, or you may come across a shop where you can spend the cash you've amassed. There are 3 types: witches that sell your items, arms dealers which sell secondary weapons, and medics who can improve your stats. Also keep an eye out for hidden rooms, especially on the harder difficulties, where some of the other types become hidden rooms too. Oh yeah, try not to dilly-dally on one floor for too long, cause if you do, Chunks will find you and start chasing you down. But you can knock him out temporarily if you attack him enough times. Let's talk about those items for a moment. There are many different kinds you can obtain, and each one usually does something beneficial, like making your attacks more powerful or enhancing your mobility. But be careful, there's a few joke items that are mostly useless, like the old reel which makes the visuals black and white, or the breeze pods which make all the sounds nightcore. Like, how does this help me? There are 8 different characters you can play as in this game, though most of them have to be unlocked first. And each one has their own quirks that make them unique, like Lewis, who has great shot accuracy and can carry 2 secondary weapons, or Digby, who can only use melee weapons but has a fast movement speed, a double jump, and this wicked combo feature that increases his attack power if he keeps consecutively killing enemies. Also, by clearing certain conditions, you can unlock alternate costumes for the characters, which is pretty sweet. And for some reason, Digby has a Friday Night Funkin' costume? That was a game that started on Newgrounds too, right? Alright, I think it's time I talked a little about the game's story, but doing so will spoil some things. There's an opening cutscene which gives you a basic premise, but there is a bit more going on here, so if you were wishing to go into the game blind, I'd advise you skip this section. But if you didn't mind and want to hear more about the game, let's continue. When you finish a run with Jules or Jeff, the game will encourage you to finish the game with the other character, and doing so will unlock Cordelia, that busty witch. Oh! Why is this game so weirdly sexy? You okay, Derios? I'm fine. As I was saying, Clearing the game as her will have a special cutscene play, where Cordelia finds a book left behind from her currently missing father. It explains the reason why these monsters are abound is because of his study and experiments of interdimensional travel, and implies he's currently stuck in the realm where all the monsters are from, since he said he was going to travel there himself and hasn't been seen since. It also tells us more about Chunks, that he was originally a guinea pig, quite literally, for the experiments, and was given a special serum that was intended to give him strength to protect Cordelia and her mother Rosalia. But looking at him now, you could also see it's caused him to go berserk. Finally, it details some secret locations inside the manor that hold pieces of a key that will open a coffin, which holds an antidote that can turn Chunks back to normal. This is vital in order to save Cordelia's father, since it also states that Chunks is the only one that can activate the portal to the realm. With this information in hand, you now have the option to go to 4 new floors in between the main ones, and clearing them will give you a piece of a key that can open the coffin that's holding the medicine. Then when you reach Chunks, the medicine will be used and he'll return back to normal. Then you'll get access to a new floor, the exit realm. By going through that area, you'll take on the real final boss, Diavola, and net yourself the true ending. I really like how there's a deeper layer to the story here, and the fact there's a better ending you can achieve if you're willing to go for it. It sort of goes without saying, but this game looks great. The pixel art for the visuals and presentation is all very well made, and the low poly models of the weapons are a nice touch too. The game certainly has the eye candy thing going on, I can tell you that. The soundtrack composed by Major? That must be an alias. I didn't know their real name. It's very nice too. Very upbeat and spooky sounding chiptunes. So overall, Dead State is a really fun and spooky roguelike that I give the highest of recommendations. Also, I think I'm sort of addicted to playing it. Well, that's how it usually goes with games like this. You keep saying to yourself, just one more run. Until you get screwed over by really bad RNG, that is. The only problem I think I had with this title is the game's viewpoint can make depth perception a little tricky. But then again, I had the same issue with Scourge Hive, so I guess it's just a common thing for isometric games. And that its performance can go under in very specific situations. It's something that may need addressing for sure, but I can't necessarily blame the devs on that part. But issues or not, I'm glad I got to cover this thing for the Eerie Endorsements. I mean, there's even a achievement you can get for playing it on Halloween. See? Perfect for playing around this time. Also, according to the Steam page, the developers have a bunch of updates planned for this thing, so it may be worth keeping an eye out for all that. I know it's been a while since anything's been posted on this channel, so I might feel a little out of my element making this, but I hope you all enjoyed this video, or find this game interesting at the very least. Anyway, we'd love to stick around and talk more, but we kind of have our hands full down here. Yeah, and I still have to get to a bunch more contracts. They aren't going to sign themselves. What if Angelos' friend is taking good care of the house? Anywho, thank you for watching, stay safe, and happy Halloween! Roads with these large crystals, which when destroyed, bring it back to the... Which when destroyed, bring it back... I'm breaking my back recording these freaking lines. Explains the reason why these monsters are abound. Did I not proofread this sentence? Ugh, I really need to get script approval.